Thank you very much, Mr. Ilsley, and I very much welcome the fact that we're having this important debate today to mark International Women's Day. Back in January, I was lucky enough to come high up in the ballot for Prime Minister's questions, and I used the opportunity to question the Prime Minister on the issue of violence against women. And in doing my research for that, I came across a most frightening statistic. Nearly half of all women in the UK have experienced domestic violence, sexual assault, or stalking at some point in their lives. And it's the kind of statistic that you read, and you almost question and say, well, can that really be true? And I went away and I researched it, but there it was in black and white. From the British Crime Survey, 45% of women, this is real women talking about their experiences to the British Crime Survey. And I think that just underlines how wide-ranging this problem is, and also how much it is far too often behind closed doors, because it is happening in every one of our constituencies up and down the country. The question that I asked the Prime Minister, and I have to confess, I'm not quite sure I got the whole answer that I was after, but time is very short in Prime Minister's questions, so perhaps I'll give the benefit of the doubt. But I would be very much welcome if the Minister would actually indicate her thoughts on the issue of an integrated strategy across government departments to deal with this issue. I think it's very good to have strategy on domestic violence, for example, but we do need to recognise that that is only part of violence against women. There obviously are the sexual crimes, the trafficking, which has been mentioned already, bringing in Home Office, Foreign Office, of course, certainly.
Martin Salter.
I thank the honourable member for giving way. Does she accept that violent internet pornography of the sort that led to the brutal murder of Jane Longhurst is also a form of violence against women? And will she take this opportunity to praise the campaign of Jane's mother, Liz Longhurst, the all-party campaign which she spearheaded against violent, exploitative internet images in which women are actually raped, tortured or murdered, all in the name of private profit and sexual gratification?
Swinson.
Certainly, I very much welcome the opportunity to do so, and also to congratulate the honourable member on his work, his hard work on this very issue. It's just a good example of how violence against women does pervade all aspects of government, all types of different government department, health, obviously, education, even transport, in terms of women travelling home safely, often late at night. And I think it's vitally important that this issue is on the agenda, discussed and acted on in every single government department. I hope the Minister will express her support for that strategy as endorsed by the End Violence Against Women Coalition. The issue I would particularly like to address today is actually something which was brought to me by a women's refuge in my own constituency in Eastern Bartonshire. It's the Women's Aid Refuge in Bishopbriggs, which I visited yesterday. It's a refuge which is fairly recently opened. It's got 5 flats in it which provide a great haven for women who are fleeing domestic violence. And the issue that they raised with me was not one that you might expect, but it's the issue of television licences. And the reason that this is an issue is because for many women, when they take that difficult decision to flee their partner, although there is a communal area, they may not actually have the confidence to go into the communal area of the refuge. They very often, at first, want the safety and security of being within their own self-contained flat with a locked door. And in fact, I've been speaking to the charity refuge, and they tell me that women say that often the television can be a great source of comfort, perhaps as a way to entertain their children, or indeed just as some background noise to give them some comfort and security. The situation that was brought to my attention, which I found quite shocking, was that this refuge in Bishopbriggs was told that they needed 1 licence to cover the property, but shortly afterwards started getting angry reminder letters saying they needed a licence for each flat. What was worse was that these letters actually went to the individual women who were fleeing domestic violence in the individual flats. Now, in a vulnerable state, this was obviously something which was very distressing for these women. The refuge wrote to the TV licensing enforcement people, explained the nature of the property, explained that they'd been told they only needed 1 licence and would be pleased to send any future correspondence to the office instead. But what happened then was one Friday night at 6 o'clock, an enforcement officer came round. The staff had left the refuge by that point. He demanded entry to the refuge, and the 20-year-old young mother who answered the door and let him in was essentially sort of bullied into signing these forms to make instalments and payments, and was very, very distressed for the entire weekend until the Monday morning when the staff came back and were able to sort out this issue. Now, members will know that the most dangerous thing a woman suffering from domestic violence can do is leave her partner. That is when the highest risk of homicide occurs. And men will often stalk their partners and try to gain access to refuges. And one of the ways they do this is very often by posing as officials, whether that's plumbers or council officials or whatever. To have television licensing people forcing their way into women's refuges, I would argue, is an unacceptable situation. Looking into this issue, I was further appalled to learn that hotels and guest houses require only one licence per 15 rooms. So they actually, although they're private enterprises, do not have to have one licence per room. They can have that concession. Residential care homes can have a concessionary rate per room. Now, women's refuges, often people are staying there on a temporary basis. It might be a few days, a few weeks, sometimes a few months. I think there's a very strong case, and I've written to the Secretary of State for Culture, Media and Sport about this issue, to change the rules and increase the concessionary scheme to include women's refuges, and I very much hope that this will be done in the upcoming BBC Charter Review. I'd particularly like to know whether the Minister responding to the debate would be prepared to support this initiative. It's an issue which does affect women's refuges up and down the country. It's perhaps a small issue, but I think it's one that we should get sorted out and take the opportunity to do so.